Hi, this is Steve back at the Listening Post, and today I'm going to talk about a band called the Jive Turkeys and their album Bread and Butter. This is it right here. I actually found this while rummaging through the record bins over at my local library. The library in Los Gatos has a huge selection of DVDs and CDs. They say you can't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes with music, quite often you can tell a lot about a band and their style of music. And there's probably a metaphor in here somewhere. The cover of this album looks like it's a grilled cheese sandwich sizzling away, and that's appropriate. I knew nothing about this band when I saw this in the bin, but just by the name and the cover, I knew that there's going to be some red-hot music in here. And what they do is they play a style of music called soul jazz, and they have a very vintage approach to it. This sounds like it could have come out of the 60s, back when Blue Note Records was promoting albums by artists like Horace Silver, did a song called Song for My Father, and Lee Morgan in 1963 had a big hit called The Sidewinder. This sounds like it could have come out of that era. It sounds like a little bit of a cross between James Brown and Booker T and the MGs. James Brown, of course, was known for his high-energy concerts. I actually saw him once at the Masonic Auditorium in San Francisco, and what a show. The audience was a bunch of white people sitting with their arms crossed, waiting to check off on their list that they'd seen James Brown. And by the end of the show, they were dancing on their seats and rushing the aisles. The guy just had so much charisma. So this band, they play with the energy of James Brown, but perhaps with the instruments of Booker T and the MGs. It's an organ, guitar, bass, and drums. And Booker T and the MGs, of course, known for Green Onions. They did the theme, they covered the theme to Hang 'em High. But Booker T and the MGs were always too cool to break a sweat. This album here's got so much energy, I sweat just listening to it. It's on the Coal Mine record label, a label known for vinyl 45s. It was started by Terry Cole, who plays bass on this album. The group was in a previous group called Soundscape that played hip-hop and funk. This is basically the Soundscape rhythm section. Terry Cole says that, what does he say? We call ourselves the Jive Turkeys because we were a bunch of white kids playing the blackest funk we could muster. So this album came out in 2009. The label was started in 2007, basically so Terry Cole and his bandmates could sell their music at concerts. They formed the Jive Turkeys, and they're based out of Middletown, Ohio. Their logo is the outline of the state of Ohio with soul printed in the middle. This album here is I kind of divided up between the high energy numbers, the down tempo numbers, and the mid tempo numbers. The album leads off with a song called Funky Turkey, which includes a Take No Prisoners drum solo by the drummer Rob Halk. The fourth track, Chicken Foot, real high energy workout, featuring the guitarist Andrew D. Roberts. The fifth track, Straight Fire, that was actually the first single released by this band on 45. Matt Ambergy takes the lead on organ on Straight Fire, and it's got another nice drum break in it. And then the ninth track, Talkin' That Talk's got some more really catchy guitar work by Andrew D. Roberts. Some of the down-tempo tracks turn out to be the most melodic. The third track, Soul High, it's a slow melodic groove. Sounds a little bit by a song by Willie Mitchell called Soul Serenade. The seventh track, Stamp, another very melodic slice of soul. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Charles Wright song, Respect Yourself. It's got a really cool psychedelic guitar solo in the middle of it by Andrew D. Roberts. And then there's several mid-tempo tracks, including JT Strut. has a nice dance rhythm. Bill Collector has got a little bit of a Steppenwolf rhythm to it. If you remember the song Sookie Sookie, very energetic track. Funky Brewster is a funky rocker. Grimmin, a lot of driving bass by Terry Cole on that song. And the 11th track, B.A., which is a real guitar showcase for Andrew Roberts. The album ends with a blues track called Otis Lament, where Andrew Roberts again gets to show off his blues chops on guitar. Blues music is enjoying quite a bit of resurgence. Not blues music, soul music, and soul jazz in particular. Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. Check out a song by them called I Learned the Hard Way. There's a band out of L.A. called Vintage Trouble that are getting on they're getting on a lot of the late night talk shows performing. They're a very energetic band that wear their influences on their sleeves. And of course, Amy Winehouse. You know, a lot of people know her for her troubles with her addictions and her premature death. But her album, Back in the Black, is outstanding. Very vintage-sounding soul, you know. Coal Mine Records is patterned after some of the other independent record labels, such as Daptone and Ubiquity. Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings are actually on Daptone Records. And I see that they've got another 45 out by a group called the TC Connection, T-E-E-S-E-E. That's made up of the Jive Turkeys with the addition of a horn section by a group called the Monophonics that also record for Coal Mine. They've got a 45 out called Black Mamba, which is a very heavy slab of soul. That's all I've got. I just love this album. Play it all the time. It gets better with each listen. I would go so far to include it in my list of desert island picks. If you're going to be choosing jazz, you've got to go with some of the classics like Kind of Blue by Miles Davis and Love Supreme by John Coltrane. But then you can start rounding out the collection, and this would work as good as anything I've heard. Once again, this is Steve at The Listening Post. This full essay will be up on the Totally Guitars website, totallyguitars.com/thelisteningpost. And I enjoyed talking with you and look forward to doing it again next time.